Hello, Wonderhussy here, and I've got two pieces of good news. Here's the first piece, and here's the second piece. Okay, if you couldn't make that out, that's 2 negative test results. That's right, I finally got rid of the dang Cocoa Puffs, or what I've been reduced to calling Cocoa Puffs because the good folks at Google won't let me say the real name of the miserable affliction that's been holding me down the past, oh my gosh, 2 weeks. I think I got sick on Christmas, probably we had this Christmas party right before Christmas on the 23rd. I think I probably got sick then, and I'm filming this on January 9th. So what is that? That's like 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks to get over this dang affliction. And like I said in one of my last videos, it's no joke. I mean, only now, 2 weeks after getting sick, do I finally feel well enough to go traipsing through the desert again. And this is a great day to go traipsing through the desert. It's chilly. It's chilly by my standards. I think it's like in the 50s today, low 50s. It was in the 20s overnight. That's very cold for around here, which is why I'm wearing all these layers. I'm bundled up like a ninny because I don't want to get sick again. In fact, maybe I ought to sit down and take a rest for a minute on this tufa formation just to make sure I don't tire myself out too much. That's the worst thing about these Cocoa Puffs is, golly, it makes you so tired. I mean, I've been well. I've been testing negative since 4 or 5 days ago, but I've been so freaking wiped out, just tired that I've just spent a lot of time hibernating in bed, which I don't normally do. It doesn't help that it's been real cold and it's been real windy out here. Today's actually the first day that it's sunny and nice, and well, you can see it's already causing me to peel back my layers like a flower opening to the rays of the sun. It feels amazing. And most of all, it just feels amazing to be out and about in the sun because I've been cooped up in my bedroom for the last 2 weeks, hiding from it. Oh my gosh, I know my tan is completely gone. I'm all pale and weak and my face is all broken out. I need some vitamin D, which is why I decided to go for a walk today and get some fresh air, some exercise, and some sunshine. And it is a beautiful day. Like I said, it's in the 50s, but with the sun out, oh gosh, it almost feels like it's in the 60s. Oh, before you know it, I'll be naked. Actually, I'm not quite feeling that well yet, and I'm trying not to push anything, you know. I hiked up the mountains there behind me last week to make a video because I was feeling pretty good, but, you know, I got pretty wiped out from doing that, and I had some people message me saying, hey, don't push yourself too hard, you know, you could relapse and you definitely don't want to relapse, and I definitely didn't want to relapse. So after I made that video, I went back home to bed. Well, I edited the video and then I went to bed, and then for my video on Friday I thought, oh dear, what am I gonna do? I still didn't feel well enough to travel anywhere. You know, I certainly don't feel well enough to be camping or really doing any kind of major hiking. So people were just telling me, don't worry about it. You can miss 1 day a week. It's not the end of the world. Well, yeah, but then I don't get paid. That's not how it works on YouTube. If I don't post content, if I don't constantly feed the beast or constantly run on the treadmill, well, then they don't pay me. So yeah, I know I have a lot of old videos up. I have I think I have almost 800 videos up on my channel. And every time somebody watches one of those old videos, I make a little bit of money. But you really don't make much unless you post something new that a bunch of people watch. So I felt like this unnatural pressure, I gotta post something. Well, then people go, oh, well, just, do a retrospective video. Those cheesy sitcoms back in the 80s when they would have the flashback episode when I guess the writers were on strike or on vacation and they didn't want to write a new script, so they'd just sit around going, well, I'll never forget the time that blah, 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 blah. And then they would show a flashback of that particular episode. Well, people were telling me, just do that with yours. I'll never forget my favorite hot spring, which was blah, 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 blah. Well, making one of those kinds of videos is more work than just going someplace and filming something new. I hate to tell you, you got to go through all your B-roll and find the pieces that you want to use. And then also you have to shoot the screen time talking about those things. And well, I ended up I thought taking a shortcut, I thought, okay, people have been asking me for a long time about my theme music, Wonderhussy, hey, where you gonna go now? People wanted to know if it was a full song. Well, it is a full song written by an amazing Grammy-winning, multi-Grammy-winning friend of mine named Michael St. Leon. He runs a business called Switchyard Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. He does a lot of blues music. He's a producer and a songwriter, and he was friends with these photographers that I used to work with, or this photographer that I used to work with. And so me and the photographer and Michael, the songwriter, and then this other guy, Kit, this actor, we would all make these weird videos together. And so Michael St. Leon wrote that song for one of our videos. And he told me I could use it on my YouTube channel. And so I have been. I trimmed it down to just 15 seconds because nobody wants to sit through a whole 3.5-minute intro on a YouTube video. So I just trimmed it down. And in the beginning of most of my videos, you just hear that first 15 seconds. But I did have the full track and I had permission to use it. So I thought, okay, I'll make a music video. And so that's what I did. I went through all my old videos and I picked out little bits of footage of me going to hot springs and hiking up mountains and exploring abandoned places and finding all these cool old cars in the desert and all the things I like to do. I put little clips of those along to the music and made a whole 3.5-minute music video out of it. And it came out pretty good, if I do say so myself. Hold on a minute, I want to see if this car left yet. I wanted to go over and shoot this video up the road a little bit, but unfortunately, there's somebody camping right where I wanted to go. So I'll just go and sit back down on my little tufa stool where nobody can make fun of me except for anybody who happens to be watching this video. Okay, anyway, I made that music video to kind of tide me over when I couldn't go anywhere and shoot new content. And it came out good. I mean, I knew when I made it that I wasn't going to make much money off of it because it was only 3.5 minutes long. And on YouTube, people always ask me, how do you make money on YouTube? Well, you get paid by the ads that they show at the beginning of the video. And sometimes there's, I guess, ads at the end of the video. And sometimes there's even ads in the middle of the video. They leave it up to you as to how many ads you want. I mean, I think you have to have ads at the beginning, at least. And then if you want, you can put them in the middle and at the end. Well, I don't put them in the middle because I feel like it's intrusive. It interrupts the flow of the video. I don't want to be spammed by a bunch of ads when I'm watching a video. So even though it's against my own best interest and my interest in my pocketbook, I don't put ads in the middle of my video, just at the beginning and I think at the end, although who stays till the very end, I don't know. Anyway, with a video that's only 3.5 minutes long, you couldn't really put ads in the middle anyway. But that's just one way you get paid. Another way they pay you is based on watch time, like the length of time people watch your videos. So, a lot of people will click on a video and just watch it for like 30 seconds and then go, man, this sucks, and, click to something else. Some people will sit and watch an entire 20 or 30-minute video. Thanks to those of you who do that. With a 3.5-minute video, well, I'm not going to be able to put very many ads on it. I'm not going to accumulate very much watch time. So I kind of just put it up because I needed something like a placeholder, to let people know I was still alive. But even then, I got kind of screwed because I guess the publishing company that owns the rights to that song, even though I know the guy who wrote the song and he explicitly told me I can use it in my video, well, come to find out he re-recorded that song with different lyrics for his niece. And then that version of the song ended up on a CD for his band. He's got a band called Thunder Bunny. Isn't that a great name for a band? And the bunny, the U, has an umlaut over it. Like Spinal Tap or Motley Crue. Thunder Bunny. Anyway, that song ended up on a Thunder Bunny CD with the new lyrics. And because of that, the publishing company, I guess, that owns the rights to that song filed a copyright claim against me. Now, this happened once before for my intro music, just a little 15-second clip that I use. But my friend Michael was able to clear that up with him. So I'm hoping he's able to clear this second copyright claim up too, because if he doesn't, then I'm really not making any money off this video. And that means, well, I'm basically taking an unpaid leave. We don't get, us YouTubers, or if you want to call it influencers, we don't get sick days, paid time off. Then again, I never really expected to get paid time off because pretty much my entire working life, my entire adult life, I've been self-employed. When I Well, if you really want to hear my employment history, I worked at Sbarro, the Italian fast food grill, for a little bit when I got out of high school. And then I worked at C's Candies. Oh, if any of you have ever had C's Candies, amazing little chocolates that you go into a fancy candy store and you pick out what you want and put it in a box. Well, I used to work at the candy store. And let me tell you something. When you work for C's Candy, their company policy was, at that time anyways, you could eat as much candy as you wanted while you were on the job. As much as you wanted. And C's Candy's not cheap. You know, it's all little truffles. And if you've ever been to C's Candy, you know it's nice candy. In fact, if you ever watched I Love Lucy, there was an episode where she worked in a candy factory. Well, that was actually at the C's Candy factory in San Francisco. Anyway, I worked at C's Candy for a while. Obviously, I didn't work there too long because I didn't put on any weight. And it's a good thing. It was just a seasonal position. I just worked there during the holidays. Anyway, then I worked at Barnes & Noble. I worked in the music department at Barnes & Noble. So to show you how old I am. This was back in the 90s when they had a music department. People would go into Barnes & Noble and buy CDs. I worked there for a while, and then I worked at IBM, of all places. That was my first real job, I guess. When I graduated college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I worked as a secretary. I worked there for a couple years, but I really didn't. It wasn't to my liking. I couldn't see myself being a secretary for the rest of my life, and so that's where I first started blogging. That's when the internet first came out, and I started a GeoCities blog talking about how I'm gonna move to Las Vegas. I'm gonna get a pink car, and I think I already told this story in another video I made once called Becoming Wonderhussy. So anyway, I worked at IBM, and then I worked at Adobe Systems for a little bit after that. Adobe, that makes Photoshop and stuff. Just doing data entry, sitting in a friggin' office in a skyscraper, still keeping up my blog. Why I'm moving to Vegas? Why am I not moving to Vegas? Well, finally I did move to Vegas. And once I moved to Vegas, I don't think I ever held a job that had paid time off. Ugh. This tufa is none too comfortable to sit on. Let me pile up my jacket. Give me a little cushion. So all the jobs I held in Vegas, well, the first job I got and the job that I held the longest was as a photographer in the casinos. When you go to the casino to go to a show, and they come around, they go, hey, get together, let's take your souvenir photo. Well, I did that job pretty much from as soon as I moved to Vegas until 2012, for 12 years I had that job. We didn't even make an hourly wage. It was pure commission, 100% commission. And I don't consider myself a salesperson. I really don't like pressuring people. And so I wasn't a hard seller at all. I probably didn't do as well as I could have. But I did all right. I was usually towards the top of the salespeople because I guess maybe I just have a good personality. So even though I wasn't, cranking people's arms to buy the photos, they would just buy them because they felt sorry for me. Anyway, you made commission, you didn't make an hourly wage, which means you didn't get paid time off. So if you called in sick, well, you just didn't get paid. So I'm used to that, I was like that for 12 years. Then I worked as a freelance nude model for 12 years. Obviously, no one's going to pay a model if she's sick and doesn't show up to the photo shoot. And the same when I worked as a fetish model, no one's going to, well, there's some fetishes where they'd probably pay you extra. In fact, I did do some, this is kind of gross, and you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, but there's fetishes for everything, and there is a fetish for phlegm and spitting, and that's all I'll say about that. But if you're sick, you could probably still make money doing that type of fetish work. But other than that, I just never really worked a job that I could, get paid sick time off. So now that I'm working for YouTube, or I guess technically working for all y'all, you're all my bosses, I'm not really surprised at the fact that if I don't work, I don't get paid. And it's a good thing I've always had a real good work ethic, or I'd probably be broke by now. But it's a fine line between having a good work ethic and running yourself into the ground. I am the business. I am the assets, so I have to protect the assets. I got to protect my health. If I die, well, the business is gone. Speaking of that, when I was making that music video, it kind of felt like I was making, when you go to a funeral and they show that cheesy videos, the highlights of the person's life. When I was making that music video, I sort of felt like I was making a highlight reel of my own life. And if I do happen to die, well, please, somebody see to it that video is played at my funeral. And also see to it that TuneCore doesn't charge for it. That's the publishing company that's hassling me over these copyrights. Ugh. Anyway, let me go see if that camper is still over here where I wanted to film. It's a downside to these public lands. They belong to all of us. Oh, he's gone. OMG. Are you frigging kidding me? If this plane lands at the place that I was just gonna go shoot video, I'm gonna lose my lid. When that camper left, I thought I might finally have a minute to myself. I didn't realize it was as busy as Grand Central Station out here. Fortunately, that little plane just sort of buzzed the place I wanted to go, and it looks like it's taking off again. I don't know if you can see it. You can certainly hear it. Flying up, up and away. Looks like it's headed out towards Ross's place. Ross, you have visitors. Maybe he's just delivering him a pizza. Anyway, here's the thing that I wanted to show you. This is called Hepatitis Springs. And as far as I know, YouTube doesn't have any prohibition against saying the word hepatitis, so I don't have to call it Captain Crunch Springs or Fruit Loop Pond. Actually, I don't like calling this place Hepatitis Springs anyway, because I feel like it does it an injustice. What it is, it's a little warm spring pond out in the desert, and I've also heard it called the miner's tub. Okay, and that's the name I prefer to call it by, the miner's tub, because there's probably a lot of miners that lived out in this area until relatively recently that didn't have hot water, and so they would come here to take a bath. And believe it or not, I've actually seen people taking a bath here. I was camped right over here one time before I moved out here, and a bunch of locals rolled up and they set up a pump and a shower right here. You can kind of see where there's a little, well, maybe you can't see, there's a little flagstone patio. They set up a shower right there with like a tarp and everything for privacy, and they all took showers. And I asked the one guy what they were doing, and he said, oh, we don't have hot running water at home. Now that I live here, the story doesn't really make sense, because there's a county operated bathhouse that is free for all locals to use right over there, and it has hot showers. So I don't know why they needed to come out here and set up a pump and a whole friggin' tarp, but they did. Anyway, my point is, I prefer to call this the miner's tub, because I just think it sounds better than Hepatitis Springs. Now, the thing with Hepatitis Springs is it's not really that warm. It's only about 85, 90 degrees. And you know me, I prefer my soaks a lot warmer, especially on a cold day like today. But actually, this doesn't feel too bad. I think somebody put this tarp over the top of it to keep the heat in, and I think it's working. But anyway, it's just a little tiny, warm pond out here in the middle of this very arid, unforgiving desert. You know, you're walking along and you think you're never gonna find water. It's just sand dunes and little bits of scrub and brush. And then finally, you stumble on it. Here it is, this little pond. And yeah, sure, it's probably not the best water in the world to drink, but it would keep you alive in an emergency. And you can see it's even supporting its own little ecosystem here. There's some palm trees growing for shade. There's some kind of like bamboo reeds. Like there's a whole kind of like a little desert forest. I guess that's where the runoff comes out of this pond. Actually, the reason I wanted to come up here in the first place is, believe it or not, this is the site of my last adventure before I got sick. Okay, I kind of wanted to come out here and, you know, reset my clock. Now that I'm well again and I can take on the world again, I feel like I lost the last 2 weeks. Like the last 2 weeks are this black hole in my life. And so I'm going to come back to the place that I was right before I got sick and just blaze along like that black hole never happened. So what happened was, just before we had our Christmas party that I mentioned last week, we had a doozy of a Christmas party. Well, the day before that, my friend was out here camping, and this is somebody that I met last summer. That's all I'll say about that. I met this person and he was in one of my videos. Well, anyway, this guy came out here for the winter because I recommended it, and he was boondocking, camping in his RV just out here in the desert, and he really took a liking to this little Hepatitis Springs. But he just felt like, yeah, it is kind of funky. It gets a lot of algae on it. Like it's not that well cared for, but all it needs is a little TLC. So what if we get together and clean it out? And so he went into town and he got scrubby brushes and he got a skimmer, a net, and some tools. Well, unfortunately, he went to Pahrump and I don't think there is a pool supply store. So we had to go to the dollar store, and he ended up buying like it was like stuff meant to be cooking with. Like it was some kind of screen that you put over a frying pan when you're frying stuff. We used that. Scrubby brushes that you would use to clean out a kitchen sink. We used those. Anyway, we cleaned out this entire tub just a couple days before I got sick. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any video of it because it was raining that day and we were busy scrubbing and I was all muddy and dirty and I didn't have the presence of mind. But I did have my friend take one photo of me so you can see for yourself that I was in this pond with all the water drained out, scrubbing away to get rid of all the algae that's built up on the sides. I mean, good luck with that. I don't know, you can see I guess having this tarp over the top will also help keep algae from going on it. So I'll fix this tarp before I leave. I guess I need to put some rocks on the corners. But yeah, my friend mostly my friend bailed all the water out of this little tub, which you might not think is such a big deal. But let me tell you something. Like I said, there was no swimming pool supply store. I don't know, for whatever reason, he just had a plastic waste paper bin. And so we used that, or he used that, bailed as much water out as we could. And then at the bottom, there was a drain. But unfortunately, what happens with this particular pool, because it's surrounded by sand dunes, every time it gets windy, all this dust and sand just blows in. And before this tarp was here, and even with the tarp on it, I mean, you can see there's plenty of access for sand and dust to get in. And so like the bottom of this thing was covered in like 3 inches of thick silt. And I'll be honest, I was expecting it to be much grosser than it was. I thought, oh man, it's gonna be silt with like pubic hairs and band-aids and like all this human effluvia that you would find at the bottom of a hot spring. Well, surprisingly, the silt at the bottom was very clean. It was just sand and dust from the desert piled up at the bottom, but it was plugging up the drain. You know, believe it or not, there is actually a drain at the bottom of this tub on that side. I saw it with my own 2 eyes once we bailed all the water out and scooped out all the sludge at the bottom. And so there was a pipe, I guess, at one time, I don't know running where to drain out because we're not on that big of a hill, but the drain is completely clogged with silt and sand. So there's not even any point in trying to clean it out because it's just going to get full of silt and sand again. Even though, you know, I did stretch this tarp out and try to cover it up, it's always going to get in there. You know, this is never going to be what you call a pristine little soak. And in fact, I don't think anyone's ever going to start calling it Paradise Springs instead of Hepatitis Springs. Ooh, it's getting chilly. I better put my jacket back on. Don't want to have a relapse, you know what I mean? Anyway, I guess, I don't know, that's pretty much all there is to say out here. This was the last place I went before I got sick, and it's now the first place I've gone since I've been well. I feel like there's some kind of symmetry in that. Or, I don't know, maybe I just really needed a place to go to make a video. But now that I'm well again, I look forward to being able to travel again and go to interesting new places to shoot content. Although I will say, the desert around my house is pretty interesting in and of itself. I mean, not only is there Hepatitis Springs right down the way, but look what I found in the desert when I was walking over here. Look at that. It's like I think it's a coyote skull, but I don't know, like those teeth? Don't those look more like the teeth of a ruminant? You know, like something that chews a cud, like a cow or goats. There aren't any cattle or goats anywhere around here that I know. I don't know, you guys tell me. Is this a coyote? Or is it a dog? Golly, anyway, I thought it was kind of cool. I'll bring it back to the compound and then look what else I found. 3 Bud Light Platinum bottles. How about that? Now you might go, well, gee, Wonderhussy, what's so exciting about Bud Light Platinum bottles? Well, my sister wants to build a bottle wall. Have you ever seen those walls where there's the ends of bottles stuck in it? And so we've been collecting bottles for a couple of years now. We got a ton of bottles, but they're almost all brown or clear or green, like wine bottles. We wanted some colorful bottles. And so, unfortunately, blue bottles are really hard to come by. There's not that many kinds of booze or beer that comes in a blue bottle. So, in fact, when we had that party at our house before Christmas, we went to the store to buy supplies, and we should probably buy some beer for the party. What kind of beer should we get? Get something that everybody likes. Well, nobody likes Bud Light Platinum, but we wanted blue bottles, so that's what we bought. Anyway, I found 3 of them, so I'm going to take those along with my mystery skull back to the compound, and I'm gonna blast my heater, and I'm gonna put on my warmest cozy clothes and make a nice hot mug of tea, because I may have defeated Cocoa Puffs, and I may have cleaned the hepatitis out of Hepatitis Springs, but I still don't want to get frostbite.